some good memories, and I have some good memories and some bad, as usual. My father grew up in Depression era South. He grew up so poor, and what you heard about dirt poor, that was literally them. They were dirt poor, and he grew up in the South, in depression, and had to eat fish out of a barrel, smoked fish out of a barrel for 2 years during the Depression. So he hated fish thereafter. But what he taught me about when I was growing up, and he was late in life at that point, was that family was most important. And I'm going to show you some pictures of him and of me and of my mom and some people in our family. And just to show you that he was always on camera, with the family, or he was behind the camera taking the pictures. But very seldom, I don't think I have many pictures of him where it's just him by himself. It was mainly, by the time that I grew up, it was mainly the family came first. And when I grew up, when I was early in my life, my father liked to drink a lot on the weekends. So he was a big drinker, but he also believed in going to work every day. And one of the things that he taught me was that it was my duty, to get to work, no matter how badly I was hungover. Right? That was one of the things I learned from him. But it was also about providing for your family. He taught me that being a good father was more than just being a provider, but also teaching your children. And he did a lot of teaching with me. He taught me a lot about woodworking. And for that, I'm really, really grateful, because I love to work with wood. Maybe some of you have seen some of my woodworking. In fact, if you look behind me, I probably have a cabinet that I built recently. And so he taught me a lot about a lot of things. Um, he was also mean and sometimes hateful. Um, but again, those were things that, as he got older, they began to die down. And I think one of the things that I found out was, the older you get, the more your mortality weighs on you, and the more you have to think about where you're going with your life and what you've done with your life, and how you're going to be remembered. And really, just trying to make your peace with God, I think, is the biggest thing. He became somewhat religious at the end of his life, and I felt like, and he had given up smoking and he'd given up drinking. And after he gave up drinking, he was actually a really nice guy. But he taught me, even when he was being mean, he was teaching me something. He was teaching me not how not to be, right. So there are positive and negative uh, lessons, but you have to take lessons from everything, right. So his fighting with my mother, and being being drunk, that weighed on me. And while when I was younger, I did my fair share of drinking, the older I got, the more I realized that I had a responsibility to my family, and that really came from my father, and his how he brought me up. And the pictures that you're seeing over here on my left, um, are some of the only pictures I really have of him. Right? I'm sure my brothers probably have some that I don't, but they're really pictures that show him from the kind of carefree guy he was when he was in the Army Air Force over in Germany, to the older, elderly version of himself that I grew up with. And I had always said one of the things that it kind of taught me was that you should probably have children when you're young, right? Don't wait until you're too old to go out and play with them in the yard or have a good time with them. So that was again, that was a negative lesson, but it was a lesson nonetheless. Um, he was very quiet, but I do remember him talking to me about his time in the service, and he was in the Battle of the Bulge, and the things that he went through there were life changing for him, obviously, as they are for most military people. You don't go through that and not be changed in some way. And I don't know if I've ever shared this with you, but I was in the military for a very short time. I was in the Navy, and I joined the Navy because I thought it would make my father happy, and it didn't make me happy. And as a result, when I got a chance to get out, I took it as quick as I could. I almost died of in boot camp, and as a result, got out of the military within about 90 days, a little less than 90 days. So I really got no benefit out of it. But I realized then that I had done something with my life not to make myself happy, to try and make my father happy. And that's something that I hope my children never do, is to try and do things to make me happy instead of doing what they want to do to make themselves happy. And those are, again, those are important lessons that everybody needs to kind of glean on their own. And everybody has their own story about their father. I'm hoping that you're enjoying this, and or at least understanding where I come from. Um, and I'll tell you more about my mother on another video. I think I probably knew more about her and have more pictures of her and have more more information to share about her, but because she lived longer. Um, but I hope you've enjoyed hearing about my father, and if you have, please like, share, and subscribe. And I would appreciate it so that we can grow this channel. I think he actually would have liked having videos that talked about his life. Um, he was, like I say, he was a character, right? He enjoyed playing poker. Um, I remember when my mother talked about how he was on base and went to a poker game and basically gambled away their entire month's rent in the poker game, and came home and had to go in front of the captain and explain why he didn't have rent for the month. And that was very sobering for him. He didn't like that at all, being called on the carpet. But so I don't think he continued to try and be a gambler after that. But like I said, I learned a lot from him, and I loved him, and I sometimes didn't love him. Sometimes I hated him. To be honest with you, he's again it. But I learned how to be a better father and a better man because of the things, both good and bad, that he taught me, and I've learned from those and taken them to heart. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that this has been instructive. Thank you. Come back.